Hey everybody, it's Eric alongside Rod. Thrilled to be joined by one of Michigan State's 2025 26 recruits, Cam Ward. Cam's a 6'7", 210-pound forward out of Largo High School in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Not typical sort of Michigan State recruiting territory. So thanks so much for joining us today, Cam.
And thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our pleasure. Before we begin, just a reminder to all our listeners, you can get 20% off all your Nudge gear for any of the Spartan apparel you need. Cam doesn't need that. He's going to get plenty of stuff. But for you who need to cheer him along and the rest of the team, you can head on over to Nudge Printing at nudgeprinting.com. There you can get all your gear, whether it's hoodie, t-shirt, whatever it might be. Again, just type in Final Four as one word into checkout, and you can get that discount. So we're going to have Rod start us off here.
So Cam, I know you've already had, even as you're still in just really the beginning stages of your senior year, you've already had an amazing career at Largo. You won a state championship last year. You were Maryland's Gatorade Player of the Year as a junior. I saw recently you had a 41 point, 11 rebound game. I assume defending your state title is the primary goal that your team has this year, but I'm curious how you feel about how your team has started the season, where you're at, how good you think you can be, that kind of thing.
I would say we started the season good. Had a couple losses to some really good teams in Bullis and Greensboro Day. Two high competitive teams that are kind of ranked in the national rankings for high school. We played well versus both. I think we're starting to figure it out, kind of how to handle situations, kind of handle adversity. But as far as like the common goal, yes, the main goal is to win the state championship and to honestly just hold that title for 2 years as the plan is. But talking about starting the year off, I don't think we could have started off any better other than maybe competing for those 2 wins more. But other than that, I think we started off perfect and we're just going to keep growing as the season goes on.
Are you replacing a lot of starters from last year's team, or is most of that team back this year?
Most of the team is back. We are replacing 3 starters. We're
Okay, that's a
replacing three
lot.
starters, but we returned 9 guys from last year's
Oh,
team.
okay.
So it wasn't like we were just totally like off the board, like, oh, we got to bring in a bunch of new guys. We kind of returned the majority of the core, but definitely losing those 3 starters, is definitely something that we're figuring out early in the season, which is good rather than towards the end. So right now we're starting to figure out how those guys implement into the team, and then we're just going to keep figuring out from there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And your dad's your coach, right? Your high school coach.
Yes,
So,
yes.
what has that been like for you? I mean, it's a little different. Most players, they don't play for their dad, but we definitely do see it from time to time.
It's been good. I would say he's not really kind of that way at home more so. I think the home and the court thing is definitely two
Uh-huh.
different people. So I definitely appreciate that and I love that because it's like, well, we can talk like at home and talk like about anything other than basketball too. And then, say when we're like in the court or in that basketball mindset, we can always communicate and talk. But nothing ever really carries on from the court to home or nothing. It's not like, oh, that's all we talk about. We have a very great relationship on and off the court. So it's been great to play for my dad. Honestly, it's a blessing because you get to see different perspectives and you kind of get like the coach, but you also get like the mentor in the same way rather than it just being one. So I kind of enjoy it and I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we saw that, of course, the last 4 years with Michigan State, where Steven Izzo was on the team. You may
Hmm.
not be, yeah. And so
Exactly.
we're just an opportunity where, you spend a lot of time playing basketball. Your dad spends a lot of time coaching. And so this, you actually get to spend time together where, most kids don't get to, you know, hang out with their parents at work. And so you kind of
Exactly.
get that experience. So there's always talk about Tom Izzo, how he coaches, hard,
Yeah.
pushes you. What is your impression, like your dad, how he coaches and sort of how he is, in that capacity versus what you're kind of expecting at Michigan State?
I think I'm pretty prepared for it. From AAU to high school to getting with Coach Izzo. I mean, he cusses me out in text messages, and I haven't done nothing wrong yet. So I'm definitely starting to get prepared for it. You know what I'm saying? But he's such a cool guy to be around. Even from the visit, and even from like with my family and things like that. Oh, what just happened?
You're good. You're good.
Oh, okay. And then even with like the family things like that, it's nothing too crazy about it, honestly. from like playing with my dad, you know what I'm saying, I get cussed out sometimes too. So I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely preparing me for Coach Izzo and just seeing it. But also one thing that I learned about Coach Izzo is he'll be on your case, but he definitely praises you when you do the right things, or he sees that you're trying. So and honestly, he's a player's coach. He wants to hear what his players have to say so he can understand it better. And that's one thing that kind of sold me about going to Michigan State was he's going to listen to you and also pay attention to like how you want to be and just hopefully help you get to where you need to be at.
I believe your team, if I've got this right, is scheduled to play your soon-to-be MSU classmate Jordan Scott's team next
Yes,
month, right?
we
And
played them
they're
on January 11th, I
okay,
think.
so coming up pretty soon then. And they're also a defending champion in their state. So it looks like they've gotten off to a great start. He's gotten off to a great start. So that seems to shape up as a real battle. How well do you know Jordan? Have you guys played against each other a lot or even together like in AAU? What's your relationship been like?
Craziest thing. And everyone always asks me, do we know each other? I've been playing against Jordan in AAU since we were about 8. And I don't know,
Wow.
since we were about 8. And his mom, she's very involved with the broadcasting and
Right.
everything. So she's always been like involved as far as those things like that. So I remember playing against him. I think we were about 8 or 9, and we played. And he was with a team called Nova '94, and that's when I was with Durant. And we've played each other since then, and we've just been playing each other, and then like we kind of stopped. I haven't played him recently in AAU. We kind of stopped playing against each other around when we were like 11, 12, but I've definitely known him since we were like 7, 8 years old. So that's the craziest thing that everyone asks, like, well, how would you know him? Do you even know him? Like, we've known each other for a very long time. And then not to mention our parents have known each other so long because of his mom and how invested she is in with like high school sports and stuff with both my parents being coaches. So they have a great relationship. So honestly, it's like it's kind of like crazy because like wow, I would never thought he'd be my teammate. But
Right.
I'm definitely looking forward to playing against him. He's been putting up some crazy numbers as well. Watching him play. Actually we just came from the same Christmas tournament recently. They won the championship for their bracket. So I literally just seen him play yesterday. And I played before they played. So he got to watch me play. I got to watch him play after. So we're starting to really build a relationship just knowing like, hey, like this is gonna be like my teammate. Most likely is gonna be my roommate next year as well.
Right.
So hopefully he feels the same way and we're gonna be great. But I'm definitely looking forward to playing him on January 11th. There's a game on the schedule. I think Coach Izzo and them will be there as well too. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Now I'll ask you a very obvious follow up. Who's going to win that game?
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna win for sure. We're gonna win that game. It's gonna be a good game for sure, but I think we'll win. Keep them in check, keep them under like 15 points, hopefully. And if we keep them under 15, we'll win. So that's the
Gotcha.
goal. That's the goal. Stop him.
Are
We
you,
stop him, we win the game.
do you expect that you're going to guard him?
That's a great question. I think I'm gonna get switched on a couple times.
Okay.
If I guard him, primarily I will guard the other team's best player if it's like a wing or like a big. If it's like a guard, we kind of have a guard that plays very good defense on ball. So, but with Jordan having some size at like 6'6", six
Yeah.
five, he can kind of do it all at like 6'5", 6'6". So definitely, I'll probably be on him, but if I'm on him, make sure he doesn't touch because I don't want him to kill me, man. I'm gonna try and make sure he doesn't cook us, and hopefully we get the win, so I can have the bragging rights going into next year. Like if it ever
Right.
talks about high school, like hey man, we beat y'all last year, and you know what I'm saying. So hopefully, I guard him and we get a chance. So I'm definitely looking forward to it though.
He will remind you that I'm sure every day in practice for all
As
summer before the season starts if he scores like 40 drops 40 on you or something like
Yeah,
that, right?
man. He can't do that because he's gonna have the leverage on that one. So I can't do that. So hopefully we get the win and you know what I'm saying. I outperform him on that day.
Well, we have a segment actually during the show where we call which players Michigan State need to keep in the gutter, brought to you but with the Brothers Gutters, the Brothers Just Do Gutters, who put install gutters here in West and East Michigan, which our listeners can get 10% off if they have them. Come and get. You can find that at our support page. Get estimate for that. So is that your job? Your job to keep people in the gutter and just like lock them down and like have to force someone
Yeah.
else to
Yeah,
score?
that's the goal. Whenever I'm assigned on a player, it's just to make sure he doesn't score. Make sure he has the worst night of his life. I'm a very physical player. So sometimes it works for me, sometimes it works against me. I feel like the refs kind of take it the wrong way. Like being physical with somebody just to make them uncomfortable. I think sometimes refs take it as, oh, he's just being like ignorant or he just wants to touch people. But honestly, I just do it just to see. Cause I mean, if I can make you frustrated with just me touching you, then obviously you're not ready to play and you're not ready to win the game.
Right.
Because you're just gonna be frustrated the whole game. So, but if I have a defensive opportunity, I take it very personal. Like, man, like if I shut him down, we're gonna win the game and he's gonna have the worst night because I'm just not letting you score on me. Like I just have too much pride when it comes to defense and making sure that, like no one else can say like, hey, like I cooked Cam this day. Like, nah, I can't, I can't allow you to say that. So that kind of what goes into it. But yeah, I keep people in
Yeah.
the gutter for sure.
I can see why you're at Michigan State. It's pretty obvious here. So Michigan State has not really recruited in your area. I mean, it's been a lot since the '80s. Carlton Valentine, since I'm from the DMV.
Yeah.
So how did that sort of evolve? Did they come to you? I mean,
Um, that's a great question. So I think I was never really recruited by them. I never had heard from them, but my first time getting recruited by them was, I think, my junior year of the live periods in June. So my sophomore year going into my my sophomore going into my junior year of the live period, and that's when Coach Woj had just seen me play for the first time in Philly.
okay.
So Coach Woj had just seen me play for the first time. And I recognized them on the sideline. I was like, "Oh, that's Michigan State coach. Okay, that's kind of nice." Like, cause he was sitting next to the old Michigan coach, so they were both sitting next to each other. So I was like, "Okay, it's Michigan State. All right, that's cool." Like, I'm not getting recruited by either one right now, so I'm like, "Okay, it's cool." So it just happened that the game he saw, I had like 34 and 12 rebounds, and it was like, okay, well, now he knows I could play a little bit. And then I had heard from him. He had called me around September. I hadn't heard from him since June. So June they see me play. September he called and was like, "Hey, we know we're late to the recruitment trail, but is it possible we could like talk, conversate?" Yeah. So we talked. He came down to see me work out in October. And the first time he saw me work out, he was like, "Yeah, Coach Izzo will be here next week." Coach Izzo was there the next week with the rest of the staff. And this is when it was Coach Woj, Coach TK, and Izzo. They all came the next week. They came and offered me. And Izzo was like, "If I'm gonna recruit you, I'm gonna recruit you hard. And I'm gonna blow up your phone. So make sure you answer every time I call." So I've never missed a call from Coach Izzo. Although our conversations don't be long. Our conversations be about 3 to 4 minutes max, maybe.
Okay.
And he's kind of just like a quick, "Hey man, how you doing?" And we'll talk about the season. Maybe we'll talk about how he's doing, how his family is. He has a granddaughter. I think.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. He has a granddaughter now. So I've been talking to him about that. Just like, hey, how's it been? What I'm saying? Like, now you're a granddad. Like, how does it feel? He's just like, hey man,
Makes me feel
it's
old. Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So he can feel a bit old, but I could tell he has a lot of life in him, a lot of life left in him. So I'm just happy that I get to play for him, and I'm some more so happy that he's recruiting me and just taking time to just learn me and my family. And same here.
Is that different? I mean, I don't know how many other recruitments you had with other coaches. Do you get that sort of personal information and relationship with other people who are recruiting you, or is that kind of unique?
It is unique. Some coaches
Okay.
kind of just talk to you about basketball, and then some coaches will actually take time to tell you about like their personal lives. But I feel like the schools that really talk to me more and how and like how I talk to them more was primarily like, okay, well, if you can't talk to me about personal things like how I am too, then obviously we're not at that stage of recruiting. So when Coach Izzo and the family, and then with Coach TK, Coach Woj, and then Coach Saudi actually came on after, but he was recruiting me to Michigan, which is the crazy part about
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the crazy part about it is Coach Saudi was recruiting me to Michigan, and when their coaching thing changed and he went to Michigan State, I didn't know his dad played at Michigan State either. So I was
Yep.
like, wait. So the first thing I thought of, wait, how did you end up at Michigan? One, because your dad's
You're
coach.
not the only one.
Man, I was like, wait, how did you end up at Michigan? Because your dad went to Michigan State. I thought that was like the ultimate no. Like you can't do that.
You're not
But
wrong. You're not
but
wrong.
but then he ended up at Michigan State, and once he got there, it was like, oh yeah, I think this is where I want to go. Because Coach Saudi, he's a great recruiter, and when he was recruiting me, like I just felt like we could always talk on the phone and be open and be genuine. So when he went to Michigan State, I was like, oh yeah, that's like man, like that completes the staff right there. Because me and Coach TK talk very often. Me and Coach Woj may talk the most though. Coach Woj and I talk very often. So, but Coach Woj is a great recruiter. He did a great job from when he first talked to me to now. And then, as you can see, they did a great job because I'm committed and signed.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll be back there. I think when they play Michigan, I'll be at the game in March. So
Yeah.
I'll be there. So
last game of the season, I think.
Yes,
last game of
it
the
is.
regular season.
Regular
Yeah.
night.
home game anyway. Yeah, I think.
Could be a big one.
Yeah.
So just talking a little bit more about your recruiting before we turn to other subjects. And I think you've already touched on some of this stuff, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Coach Izzo is known for being brutally honest with the guys that he's recruiting. There's an interview that I don't know if you've seen it, that Jaren Jackson did recently, where he talked about how when he was being recruited, Izzo would tell him basically all he would talk about were the things that he did wrong or the things he needed to improve upon, and not a lot about how badly he wanted him to be part of the program or any of that stuff. And he said at first it really threw him, but the more he started thinking about it, the more he realized, hey, this is what I need. I want somebody that's going to push me. I want somebody that's not just going to blow sunshine, but actually wants me to get better. And that was a big part of the reason why he ended up coming to Michigan State. Have you had kind of a similar recruitment while you were going through the process with him, where he actually wasn't just glad handing you? He was spending time kind of critiquing your game, telling you where you needed to get better, that kind of thing. Was that a big part of it?
Definitely he did. I can remember a very vivid when we were at Peach Jam this year, and he was just like, man, like watching you play, like you did a good job. But then he started to get into like, hey man, well, if you come here, we're gonna need you to do this, and this. And not I wouldn't say more so, it was like, oh, you did like everything wrong, to Jaren Jackson's point of view. That might have been the old Izzo. He might have said that the old times. But
7 years ago.
yeah,
Older.
7 years ago, Izzo might have said that. But now, I wouldn't say he's changed much. He definitely lets me know the things I need to improve on. He told me very vividly in PJ, he was like, man, we need you to handle the ball. We need you to shoot more threes. And the crazy part about it is he was like, you don't even got to make them. You got to shoot them, though, just to build a confidence in you shooting them. So I think I took that to personal to heart, because now in high school, I'm shooting around like 36, 37% from three at the moment for high school. And we've played about
Wow.
8 or 9 games. So right now, I'm shooting the ball at a high clip right now as far as threes go. But I think that's just a testament to how he sees his players. Like, he knows the best and he knows how to get you to where you want to be. I told him I want to be a pro, and he was like, well, these are the things that pros do. And he was like, man, I'm gonna help you get there, but you gotta meet me halfway. And I was like, well, I could do that. And then the crazy thing about it is coach is like, hey man, if I can get Draymond Green to the league, I can get you. And I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, coach, I can see that. But he kind of just compared our games, like, you win games, he wants winners. He doesn't recruit teams that lose, he doesn't recruit players that lose. He wants winners. So that's one thing I can say. He said, man, if you're a winner, you play hard and you listen and you pay attention, then I can coach you and I can help you get to where you want to be. So I think that's one thing I would say. I wouldn't say he was too maybe blunt and honest, like, hey, you suck at this and this, but he was definitely like, hey, I need you to improve on this and this, and we're going to help you. And here's how we're going to help you. Not just, oh, we need you to improve on this. He was offering suggestions and plans on how to help you improve your game. So
Right.
that's what I think I took the most out of what he talks to me about.
Right. Did that stand out Did you have that kind of relationship with many other coaches that were recruiting you, or were the focuses of those guys maybe a little bit different, more toward, hey, we think you're a great player, we really think you can help us, and not so much the kind of stuff, the critiquing that you've just talked about? Was it different with MSU in that way?
It was definitely something. I can remember vividly when I went to Virginia, them and Michigan State were the only two schools that let me work out with their guys.
Really? Wow.
Virginia let me work out. Marquette did too. Marquette let me work out, but Virginia let me work out with their guys. And this was, mind you, this is when Tony Bennett was there.
Right.
And that's the crazy thing because I was the last visit before he
Retired.
retired.
Yeah.
It was literally like a week after. So I was like, wow, like that kind of made my decision kind of simple. After he retired, I was like, dang, well, they're off the list. So now I'm just choosing from two, for real, for real. But them in Michigan State and Marquette were the only schools that let me work out. So when the plan of, hey, this is what we want to help you with, and this is what we need you to be better at, and it was implemented right away on the visit. Like we watched my film, and as soon as we got done film, they was like, hey, our guys are working out. We're gonna add you into the workout. We're gonna do all the things that we want you to improve on, and we're gonna see how you do. And it was fun. I got to work with Jace, Jesse, and Kerr, and Jordan worked out with me too, and my little brother did too. So we all worked out together, and they was like, man, it was no drop off. Like we was working out like college kids. Like the intensity, the level of improvement, we all were there. So it was just fun to be around, and I think that's kind of what separated them was just the energy and like how the coaches embraced like, hey, he's way better than we thought he was just because he wants to be. And I think that's what kind of solidified my decision was, well, they wanted me to work out with them to see what I can improve on. And then not only did they tell me what I need to improve on, but they showed it to me firsthand and then applied it. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is where I want to be. Because if this is how I want to be every day, then yeah, I can see myself here.
Yeah, for sure. So that kind of gets to a more broad question. When you look at your game and what you do, we have a "Who Cleans the Glass Best" segment for our show where we talk about for brought to you by the Squeegee Squad of Grand Rapids. So if you want to deal on your windows getting cleaned, you can see our support page as well for that. But right now, Jackson Kohler is, of course, leading that. Where do you see yourself at your game as far as rebounding? Because that's certainly a staple of Michigan State, running, those sorts of things. And where do you think you need to work the most? I know it sounds like 3-point shooting. It sounds like you've been working on that. But what other aspects of the game are your strengths and weaknesses, I guess?
Starting to handle the ball better. Not saying my handle isn't there, but definitely just becoming tighter with it, and then just trying to get in shape is the most part. Seeing how much Michigan State runs, seeing how much they play so fast, and it's like, well, they got subs for sure, but I want to be on the floor. So if I'm in the best shape, then it's gonna be hard for them to take me out because I won't be tired. But definitely getting in shape more, definitely handling the ball better, and just finding ways to execute off the ball. Cutting off the ball is very open from what I've seen them play. They pass, they run, they do everything at a high rate. So just watching them play more and more on TV, but also thinking about how I would fit in their system and how I plan to implement myself to be different in their system as far as making things happen off the bounce, maybe setting a few screens, rolling, or just playing in the pass lane, just finding other ways to help them be a better team than they already are, knowing that they're going to be returning majority of their guys next year.
Yeah. Well, and we talked to the freshmen last year, and at least when they were at your point, they're watching every Michigan State game. They were as invested in that team. I mean, you're there too, right? You're watching probably every game.
Every
Yeah.
game, yep, every game. So
So
watching.
what? So speaking to that, then, so what have your impressions been? Because for us, what's really been exciting about the team this year, beyond the wins, is that they're getting back to the traditional way that Tom Izzo teams have played. I mean, Eric just talked about it. Rebounding, always been a staple of the program. In the last few years, it had kind of slacked off a little bit. This year's team's been great at both ends. Running, again, that's something that had kind of slipped a little bit in recent seasons, but this year's team is running probably as well as we've seen it in the last decade. So
Mhm.
what have your impressions been in watching all those games so far as to what kind of team they are, where they can get to this year, in your opinion, all of that?
I think they're Final Four bound. I think they can be Final Four, potentially national championship if Jaden Akins decides to be the guy. He's been the guy as of recent, but if he really embraces like, yeah, I'm the guy, I think they can get there. I think every college team has their guy. Like, who's taking his last shot? All right, I think it'll be Ake. I think it'll be Jaden Akins who takes a shot, or maybe Trey, maybe someone else on the court. But I think they're definitely Final Four bound. They're definitely Final Four bound. They just handle business. Like, I feel like the wins versus Carolina was a big one. Um, a few games like versus Kansas, they should have won. Memphis easily should have won. But they have a lot of quad one, quad two wins with Colorado win and the Carolina win. But I think the most impression for me has been how much Cohen affects the game. When I was on my visit, I promise you, and I promise, I'm looking at it like he just runs and jumps so high, and I'm just like, but can he shoot? Like, how does he affect the game? I'm just thinking like maybe he just runs and dunks, he defends, but really like paying attention to it this season, it's like nah, he's like a spark plug. Like he's like the energy like that they need. Like, man, like whenever his energy is high, they win games. Like
100%. Yeah,
100%. Like whenever his
100%.
energy is high, whenever he gets going early, if he gets two dunks, and that's the crazy part about it, because he gets two dunks. Me personally, I feel like a dunk is worth more. A dunk is worth like 10 points. That's worth 10
Man,
points.
man,
It's
you are
Do
really
you listen to
dialed
the
into
show?
Tom. Well, Tom, you're dialed into Tom Izzo with that because that's a line he likes to use
and
all the
Izzo
time.
Izzo says, man, a dunk is worth 10 points. Like
Yeah,
it's dunk. A dunk is worth a lot of momentum, and then especially him, like seeing him fly, it's like, bro, like I don't know. Like, I have teammates in my high school team. They be like, "So, like, y'all gonna be teammates next year?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I don't know what y'all about to do, but I don't know what I'm gonna do." Cause in practice, and if Izzo's listening or watching this, I hope he's not. But if he's in practice and he jumps, I'm not jumping. Like, I'm moving out the way. Like, I hope he knows this. Like, I'm not taking a charge. I'm not fouling him. He just know how to get 2 points. Cause it won't be me that day. I'm not jumping with him unless I just totally try my luck, which won't be good. But
it's
man,
it's pretty amazing. We had Jace Richardson on last year when he was in your position, and I'm sure his dad, in my opinion,
yep.
is one of the best dunkers there's ever been. And he had some unbelievable in-game dunks when he was at Michigan State.
Hmm.
And we asked him, okay, you've been practicing. We talked to him this summer, so he'd practiced with Cohen for a while. We said, is Cohen a better dunker than your dad? And he said yes. And that, to me, there is no higher praise than that. And I think he might be right, which I never could have believed I would ever be saying somebody was a better dunker than Jason Richardson, but Cohen might be. It's crazy. And I think you're absolutely right about the impact that he has on games when he has those kind of plays, or really just any of his high energy plays. Like he's taken to these segments where he's blocking a shot coming from the weak side, and then he ends up with a dunk on the other end after they get the ball. And those plays are just, they energize the crowd, they energize the team, they get everybody going. And like you said, it's worth way more than 2 points.
Definitely worth a lot of points just because he's such a factor. And then when I was on my visit, he's such a cool guy, like with the fans. So like, man, like I went for the camp out. Yo, you
Oh
couldn't
wow.
Okay,
you
the zone, yeah.
you couldn't tell me I wasn't part of the team. The way they was like, yeah, he's a part of the team too, right? No, I'm a recruit. But the crazy thing is they knew I was a recruit and they're like, yeah, like he's a recruit. He has to be. And man, like those guys just get treated like celebrities on campus. It's so crazy. But he's definitely he might be the heart of the team. He's definitely plays the biggest role of keeping them together, keeping them on pace and on point. But man, whenever he's having a good game like he's been having, I don't see them losing. Because if he gives you 10 points, yeah, the game's over with. Because he gonna have 4 dunks and all gonna be loud.
Yep.
So it's just crazy momentum when he's in the game.
It's scary that he's also not even a starter.
And
Because the
that's
other
the
ones,
wild part about it
I
too.
know, right? Your dad's we mentioned your dad's obviously a coach. One thing that a lot of coaches, the important thing for them is not only developing your game, but it's also the sort of the mental, the other aspects you talk about. You're the senior on the team. I assume you're one of the leaders. And so that leadership, I'm sure with your dad, with his position, he really focuses a lot on that sort of, how important it is to be a leader and, pick up your teammates, things like that. How important is that to you? What sort of things do you bring to that for your team? And do you think you will at Michigan State?
I want to just bring over just the competitiveness. I feel like the guys are very competitive at Michigan State, and I feel like they all have one common goal. From high school, I mean, everyone doesn't have the same admirations or dreams as some people do. I totally completely understand that. So for me next year, which will be a bigger thing for me and a bigger thing to focus on is seeing me thrive in a place where everyone kind of has the same goal. Like everyone wants to win games. Everybody wants to, well, maybe not even go to the NBA, but everybody wants to be something with this basketball thing.
Hmm.
So I feel like me being in that type of environment will help me be stronger and give me like an extra thing about me, like, hey man, like I can be competitive and be myself and be a vocal and emotional type person for the team. And I just want to find my place, honestly. Just find my place, honestly, in the team, whether it's vocal, nonverbal, emotional. Just find some way to help the team out as far as being someone that they can trust and someone that they can depend on. So hopefully,
Well, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for coming on the Final Four on the schedule. We really appreciate it, Cam. Looking forward to having you on campus and watch you play next year. And so I guess until next time, the Final Four is not on the schedule. Go green.
that's it.